Hello YouTube, Infinite Magicraid community, Gandalf here. We have a brand new hero, Blaze, a great support hero that has just joined the Holy Parliament. Now this hero brings pretty much all the direct damage buff you can think of to the table. Starting out, you're going to get Resolute. Speed up is always a win for boss, because most of the time you can't slow down the boss. She's going to have attack up and skill up. Just these two buff alone is just straight out doubling the damage. When you're starting out, at the beginning of the wave, you're going to give allies critical up for another 2 turns as well. So for PvP, early burst works really well for exclusive 3. So you're going to be able to stun the enemy as well, with a 50% chance of stunning. If you don't stun, she's going to refresh the duration of attributes on the target. So this makes sure the boss stays debuffed, because you can't stun the boss, right? So that just means she will constantly refresh the attribute debuffs. What I'll also add is at exclusive 1, she's going to randomly reduce the cooldown of 1 skill for the ally. So not like Esther or Lydia where they reduce all the cooldowns. It'll be randomly 1 cooldown skill every time when she casts this. And she has this on a relatively short cooldown. I think what's unique to her is she's going to boost turn meter for the entire team, as opposed to Esther, just the main DPS, and Cycle the main DPS. So from just a team's turn cycling perspective, she has her benefit. But when we start to look at all the possible supports we can run now, it does get challenging to pick, what are some of your best. And I think people already kind of figure out, we want to be running Jingle Bell with her. One, she's best direct damage dealer, but also because of the multi-hit. Now Blaze can only proc it up to 6 times per skills. So that damage is actually very minimum. So don't get baited in a situation like, oh, I have to use her with something that scales off of multi-hit really well. Most heroes that can do like even 2 or 3 hit is going to fully take advantage of the damage Blaze brings to the table, and Blaze isn't going to bring that much damage. It's going to be on the same scale as Beatrix in terms of just extra direct damage when we talk about this. And the last one I'll say is Jenny. I'll say Jenny brings the debuffs. And it's almost like, normally you would imagine I would want to put Lydia in here for a 30% skill damage, the cooldown reduction. I feel like, as soon as you're cycling Bunny in here, and you're cycling those revives, sometimes I feel like, yeah, you probably still want Lydia, right? Because the Bunny cycling will allow you to kind of get it on a 2-turn cycle. So you're kind of alternating between like a revive and the damage, the direct damage increase, or additional piercing. It gets very tricky in terms of what kind of team you really want to run at the end of the day. I feel like Lydia still has her spots. She does tend to have a little bit more overlap. In this setup, there's less overlap in terms of buffs and skill that the different heroes bring to the table. So Jenny will actually cover the critical damage that Blaze doesn't bring to the table, because it's only just for the first 2 turns, right? The crit damage. Jenny also brings all the debuffs. So you have the severe wound, the feebleness. So feebleness makes the enemy takes extra damage. The tenacity down means they're going to take more crit damage. when we look at how this all works, especially in a PvP situation, a lot of these buffs are purely multiplicative, right? So being able to tenacity down and enfeebleness the enemy and defense break, all of that, that's almost like just making the opponent take double or more damage. And over here, resolute with attack up, you're going to be doing double damage. So whatever you're doing now 4 times the damage. A lot of the time we find ourselves unable to debuff the enemy in a lot of composition states. So from a PvP perspective, for her to just have a 30% turn meter at the start of the turn, to be able to stun, get the attack up, is already kind of a big win, right? However, if we look at, all the other options we run today in terms of, I guess, we normally will run things like, there's so many heroes in the game now, like this is kind of the staple that people run. We should have brought Esther back. And I'm not sure if people noticed there's now a search feature. I don't know when this was. I actually honestly didn't notice when this was implemented. But this definitely is very helpful. This kind of has been the core. Because Beatrix is going to do 45% direct damage and 45% skill. Just purely from a passive perspective. And she can trigger that immediately at the start of the turn. Esther is going to provide that cleanse and I believe 80% direct damage boost. That is very substantial. Then we start to have heroes like, for example, you have option of, some people might want to run it with Freud. And Freud is going to be able to give you the attack up that you are looking for right there. You might not have the crit damage, but if we think about what the diminishing return on crit damage, like your Jingle Bell is going to start out with like at least 300% crit damage. Your Esther, if you have the Echo, you're going to get another maybe anywhere between, I don't know, 40 to maybe even 90 crit damage. So adding that extra 60% crit damage is additive to that number. So it's very low in terms of value for that 60% crit damage that Blaze is providing. So in this circumstance, often you're already kind of full in terms of all the different support you can use. I think what's important to say here is for Blaze, she has a very well-rounded kit, right? The amount of boosting, it's not exactly kind of Beatrix level, because if we think about her stun, right? The synergy isn't there because you're not going to be building your Blaze with that much effective hit and with speed at the same time. I don't know. Like, it's just not the same, right? Like, I mean, you could in theory put Beatrix gear on Blaze. Beatrix has a slightly higher base stat than Blaze. Blaze, you could get it to a very high effective hit to the point where you've kind of land this on equal terms of Beatrix for stun. I mean, Beatrix does have a slightly higher stun percentage, I believe. Yeah, it's a 65% chance to apply slowdown, 40% to stun. Okay, so then she has the highest stun chance, I guess. The base stun chance is 50%. So higher chance of stunning, meaning not requiring as much high of effective hit. But with all that speed, I mean, she's not going to have that much HP left then, right? The thing with Beatrix is you still get extra HP coming from all that effective hit. She's going to get effective rest. She's going to cleanse. For Blaze protection, like if we really get finicky and start thinking about the synergy of all her kit is, if you start building her with very high speed, you're not going to have a lot of HP left if you distribute your stat that way. Like if you go for a lot of speed and effective hit, where's your HP going to come from, right? And if you have all that HP to actually protect your main DPS, her PvP potential now goes down. So on paper, it looks like she has all the kit. And don't get me wrong, she isn't a weak hero by any means in terms of from a support perspective. She has all the right buffs to go with her. I'm sure she will, show up. But the question is, if we replace her with Lydia in this spot, I mean, the only thing you're missing is a Resolute. But Lydia has 30% skill damage. That's sort of like a unique passive there the whole time anyways. You already have Esther protecting Jingle Bell. So as much as we brought in a really strong hero, like if we don't use Blaze and we used and in her spot we used Lydia, which, and by the way, this kind of forms kind of your best composition right now, right? In terms of like a pure DPS team. Okay, you can put Wukong in the slot of, a Bunny, which will be even better, right? But I don't feel like, Lydia gets thrown out the window because of this. Especially the fact that Lydia has a much more reliable cooldown reduction mechanism in place. So, the attack up is very often found. I mean, I'm sure this allows us to then build like a second direct damage team, right? It allows some of the heroes to perhaps go to more of a bruiser focused team, like, I don't know, Agatha. I don't even think Agatha makes it to the top list anymore. I mean, maybe in 5s, but in 3s we don't see Agatha anymore. Right? So if you want to start building out another direct damage dealing team, maybe more bruiser based, maybe we need to see the introduction of another strong direct damage dealing hero. Anyways, I think this kind of wrap up my thought a bit, is while Blaze bring all of the buffs you could possibly look for, from boosting your attack and your skill damage, she really, isn't exactly what you're, she can, I guess, support, attack based dot damage dealing heroes too, right? Because a lot of the heroes now have blended damage in there, and those count as skill damage. So Resolute will boost that, and the attack up will boost that as well. So yeah, so to some extent, she won't be exactly going with your direct damage dealer. She will support any attack based DPS. So overall, just the fact that she's a support, she's gonna have a place for you to use her. But if you already got all of these other support, it's not really a priority for you, especially knowing that the limited hero is just around the corner. So unless you have a ton of miracle runes saved up and you really feel like you like her character design and all of that, go for it. We still don't know what her echo is until tomorrow, but normally with these type of heroes, either it brings in some additional shielding capabilities, some sort of healing capabilities. Maybe it'll give additional damage. We'll see. Like, I feel like to round out her kit, it'd be nice if she can extend those shields to everybody or provide a bit of healing. Like, I feel like some of the defensive aspect isn't there since she's a main support. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Where do I see her in terms of, is she a must pull? I feel like if you have all of these other great support already, she isn't a must pull. Does she have high value if you have none of these other heroes? Or say, you don't have a Beatrix, right? Like, I feel like Beatrix, no longer, well, you definitely want the slow down from her, and if you want the cleanse, but in a PvE situation, I almost feel like, you take out Beatrix, you leave Lydia in there, or whatnot, or put another hero in here. Like, you're not missing out. I guess, you're not missing out that much. You're missing out kind of half the damage. Yes, true. And what's really cool about her is all her buffs are uniques, right? So they're always kind of permanently on. While over here, she needs to actually apply these buffs, which some bosses remove buffs. And if you take too many turns, you lose those buffs. I mean, same for Beatrix too, but it's just, these unique buffs allow you to stack on top of each other with the other ones, right? So, yeah. Really strong support, not quite at limited hero, but it's up there. I think that's my final verdict. I rambled on too much again. Sorry about that. If you do plan to get her, it's not a bad support. Do I feel like it's my recommendation for you, especially at this point in the game, knowing the event for the anniversary is right around the corner? Yeah, I will highly recommend you save up your miracle runes. I'll see you in the next one. Gandalf out.